and welcome to our channel, where heartfelt stories come to life. Today you will get to know the touching journey of Jack, a powerful magnate who, after years of loneliness and regret, discovers a grandson who will completely change his perspective on family and purpose. Get ready for a journey of redemption and second chances that will inspire you to rethink what truly matters in life. If you enjoy deep and impactful narratives, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, and let me know in the comments. Which city are you watching us from? Your participation makes all the difference in helping stories like this reach more people. Let's get started. The cold autumn breeze cut through the streets of Chicago as I drove toward Sarah's small apartment. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, but inside me, a storm of emotions brewed. The thought of seeing her again made me anxious. The weight of the past still suffocated me, and the guilt of not having supported Tom, my son, weighed heavily on my shoulders. What will she think of me? I pondered as I parked in front of the building. The entrance to the apartment was modest, and the dim light coming from within made me hesitate for a moment. I took a deep breath and, with a trembling hand, knocked on the door. I heard footsteps, and in an instant, the door swung open. Sarah stood there, her hair disheveled and her eyes slightly puffy, as if she hadn't slept well. She looked at me with a mix of surprise and disdain. "John?" Her tone was cold, almost as if I were an intruder in her life. "Hi, Sarah, I just wanted to talk." I tried to sound calm, but my voice betrayed my nervousness. She hesitated, but finally stepped aside, allowing me to enter. The smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air, and the space was small but cozy. I glanced around and saw pictures of Tom on the wall. He looked so happy, so full of life. A knot formed in my throat. "What do you want, John?" Sarah asked, breaking the silence that stretched like a taut wire between us. I came to apologize. The words came out heavier than I expected. "I know I haven't been present, and that hurt you." She crossed her arms, her gaze hardening. "Hurt? That's an understatement. You simply ignored Tom's relationship and left me adrift." The disdain in her voice hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't know what to do. I lost my son, Sarah. I was on the verge of losing myself in my emotions, but I held firm. I didn't know how to deal with the pain, and I ended up distancing myself from everything and everyone. She let out a bitter laugh, making me feel even smaller. "You're not the only one who lost someone, John. I lost two, and not just Tom, but a part of myself. He loved me, and you did nothing to support us." Her words echoed in my mind. The pain of losing Tom was a burden I carried, but now I realized Sarah was suffering too. I wanted to do something, anything that could begin to mend what had been broken between us. "What do you need, Sarah?" I asked, trying to be sincere. "Can I help in any way?" She looked down, as if conflicted. After a moment, she raised her gaze and said, "I want to open an automotive design workshop. I've always dreamed of working in this field, but I don't have the resources." The idea made her light up for a brief moment, but soon the sadness returned. I knew this was the chance I needed to redeem myself. "I can help with that." The words slipped out before I could think. "I can offer you financial support." She stared at me, eyes wide and surprised. "Are you serious?" "Yes." I felt a determination growing within me. "I want to help you realize your dream. It's the only way I can think of to try to fix some of what happened." Silence fell again, but this time there was a glimmer of hope. Sarah seemed pensive, and I knew we were just beginning to tread a difficult but necessary path. The journey to Sarah's small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago felt endless. My heart raced, a mix of nerves and regret accompanying me with every step. I knew I had to face the consequences of my actions, but the weight of guilt made me hesitate. What would I say to her? How would she react to seeing me after everything? When I finally arrived, I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. The sound echoed down the hallway, and I wondered if I should just turn back. But before I could allow myself to retreat, the door slowly opened, revealing Sarah. Her eyes, which once sparkled with joy, were now shadowed by pain. A fraction of a second passed as we stared at each other, and I could feel the tension in the air. "Hi, John," she said, her voice low and laden with distrust. "What are you doing here?" Sarah, I wanted to talk, I replied, trying to suppress the nervousness that threatened to consume me. Can I come in? She hesitated but eventually opened the door a bit wider, allowing me to step inside. The apartment was small but cozy. The walls were adorned with several pictures of Tom, and that hit me like a punch in the stomach. What had I done to my son, and how had that affected those he loved? You look different, she remarked, closing the door behind me. What happened? Did you finally realize that things weren't as you wanted them to be? I've been reflecting a lot on all of this, I began, my voice trembling. About how I ignored Tom's relationship. I should have supported both of you. I should have seen what was happening. You think that's enough, she challenged, crossing her arms. You were so focused on your own world that you didn't see the pain you caused. Not just for me, but for Tom too, and now he's not here anymore. I felt a lump form in my throat. In fact, I realized that her pain was like a thorn lodged in my heart. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I truly am. If I could turn back time, I would do everything differently. I just didn't know how to handle the situation. It wasn't just about you, John, she replied, her voice thick with emotion. It was about what he wanted, and you weren't there for that. The rejection and the distance you created, it hurt more than you can imagine. I want to help, I said, searching for some way to redeem myself. I've been thinking about how I can undo some of what I did. I would like to support you financially. I know you have that dream of opening an automotive design shop. I want to help make that a reality. She raised an eyebrow, surprised. Are you serious? After everything that happened, you think I would accept your help? I understand if you don't want to, I quickly replied, a mix of hope and fear flooding my chest. But I really want to do something good. I want you to know that I care and deeply regret what I did. Sarah looked down at the floor, thoughtful. Silence enveloped her as she pondered. It's not just about the money, John. I need emotional support, recognition of what happened. That's what I really want. I know, I said, trying to be sincere, and I want to be part of your life again. If you give me a chance, I want to be here for you, not just financially, but as someone who truly cares. She raised her eyes, and for the first time, I saw a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we can start to rebuild something, but it will take time and it won't be easy. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, I affirmed, feeling a lightness begin to wash over me. I want you to know that I'm here. And in that moment, I realized that even amid pain and loss, there was an opportunity for redemption. Ben was sitting at the kitchen table, his eyes fixed on the blank paper in front of him. It was a cloudy day in Chicago, and the heavy clouds seemed to reflect the tension hanging between us. The pen he held trembled slightly in his hand. I approached, feeling the weight of expectation with each step. Ben, are you okay? I asked, trying to break the silence that dragged on between us. He sighed, his shoulders dropping slightly. I'm just thinking about some things. Like what? I pressed, sitting down across from him. There was something in his eyes that reminded me of Tom, a hidden passion, as if he were battling a whirlwind of emotions. I want to be an automotive engineer, he finally said, his voice low but firm. But with the money we have here at home, I don't know if that's possible. I felt a tightness in my chest. The same flame that had burned in Tom now seemed to shine in Ben. Why didn't you tell me this before? You know you can count on me, right? He looked at me, frustration written all over his face. Tell you what, that I'm just a kid with no money and no future. I just wanted things to be different. Ben, listen, I began, trying to find the right words. No matter what happened, you have a future. And if you want to be an automotive engineer, I want to help you. How? He raised an eyebrow, skeptical. You have money? You already helped Sarah. What are you going to do? Give me a loan. The answer was on the tip of my tongue. Actually, I can help in a different way. How about you apply to an engineering university in Detroit? I can cover the expenses. I want to do this, for you. Ben fell silent, his eyes widening. Really? You would do that for me? Yes, I would. I want you to have the chance that Tom didn't get. You have talent, Ben, and I see in you the same spark I saw in your father. He bit his lip, as if processing the offer. But what if I can't do it? What if I fail? We all fail at some point, I replied, feeling the urgency to encourage him. The important thing is to try, and I'll be here with you, no matter what happens. Ben looked back at the blank paper, and then, slowly, a smile began to form on his face. You really believe I can do this? Yes, I believe. And you need to believe it too. Now, let's start planning this. Together. The tension that had filled the room began to dissipate. He picked up the pen and wrote his name at the top of the page, as if he were tracing the first step toward a future that had once seemed so distant. I don't know where to start, he admitted, insecurity still present in his voice. Let's list the universities you'd like to consider, and I'll help with the applications. The first thing is research. You need to know what each one offers. Okay, let me see. He began jotting down notes, and the energy in the room shifted. The atmosphere of despair was replaced by a newfound determination. Ben, you know your dad would have been so proud of you, right? I asked, trying to connect the past to the present. He looked at me, his eyes shining. Yeah, I hope so. He always talked about cars and engineering. He taught me to love it. So, let's honor that. Let's build a future he would have been proud of. We worked together for hours, laughing and dreaming about the possibilities. Each idea, each sketch felt like a new beginning. With every step taken, our relationship transformed. He was no longer just the grandson I knew. He was becoming a partner, someone with whom I could share not only the pain, but also the hope. The room was dark, except for a soft light illuminating the circle of chairs arranged in the center. The smell of fresh coffee still lingered in the air, mixed with the faint scent of tissues. I sat in one of the chairs, feeling the weight of my sorrow, and observed the faces around me. Each one carried its own scars, indelible marks left by loss. A gray-haired man began to speak, his voice trembling yet firm. I lost my daughter in a car accident 5 years ago, he said, looking at the others. I still remember her smile, the way she laughed. Sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare I can't wake up from. I felt an instant connection to his words. The pain he described was a pain I knew all too well. When it was my turn to speak, a knot formed in my throat. I hesitated, my voice faltering as I tried to find the right words. Hi, I'm John, I started, feeling the group's gaze on me. I lost my son, Tom, a few months ago. He meant everything to me. A true car enthusiast, a dream of becoming an automotive engineer. I couldn't save him. Tears began to slip down my face, and I quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. But something about that welcoming environment made me feel safe to continue. I always thought I could protect him from anything, but I couldn't protect him from himself. My voice was choked, and I could feel the empathy from the others. A kind-eyed woman next to me commented, Sometimes, what hurts the most is what we leave unsaid. Did you have the chance to tell him how much you loved him? I took a deep breath, recalling all the times I hesitated to express my affection. Yes, but I could have done more. I was so caught up in my own world that I ended up ignoring his. That's common among us, said a middle-aged man. We get lost in our own lives and forget that our children have their struggles too. The group continued to share their stories, and each account seemed to break down a little more of the barriers I had built around myself. I glanced at Ben, who was sitting at the back listening attentively. He looked intrigued yet distant, as if he were trying to understand who I was in that moment of vulnerability. When the meeting came to an end, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The stories I heard, the pain I shared, all contributed to a sense of connection I didn't know I needed. I thanked the group, and as I turned, I saw Ben approaching. Grandpa, you were really brave, he said hesitantly. I could see he was struggling to find the right words. I've never seen you like this before. It's hard, Ben, I replied, feeling a raw emotion. But sometimes, it's necessary to show our pain. It makes us human. It connects us. He nodded thoughtfully. I always thought you were just a strict grandpa. Now, I see that you have your battles too. We all do, my boy. And that's how we find strength, by sharing our struggles. I placed my hand on his shoulder, feeling a new kind of bond forming between us. The words I had shared in that room not only freed me, but also opened a door for understanding between me and Ben, who until then seemed so far away. In that moment, I realized that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness but rather a path to healing and reconnection. And as we walked together toward the exit, I knew that despite the pain, there was hope for the future. The cool autumn breeze flowed through the window of my small apartment, bringing with it the scent of dry leaves and the softness of the afternoon sun. I sat at the table, with car drawings spread out in front of me, but my mind was elsewhere. The electric car project that Ben and I were developing gave me purpose, but the truth was that loneliness still accompanied me, like a persistent shadow. That's when Ben entered the room with a sparkle in his eyes. He had spent the morning visiting a tech fair and was beaming. "Grandpa, you won't believe what I saw, a hydrogen-powered car. It was amazing." He spoke so excitedly that I couldn't help but smile. "That's great, Ben. Technology is advancing quickly, and we need to stay updated if we want our project to stand out." "I know, but I thought of something more. What if we incorporated that idea into our electric car? We could create a hybrid." His excitement was contagious. I remembered how Tom used to have those crazy ideas, always dreaming big. "That's a bold idea, kid. But we need to do some research before diving in head first." "Of course. I can work on that while you finish the drawings." He sat down at the table and began sketching in a notebook. I looked at him, remembering how I had dreamed of being an automotive engineer when I was young. "Ben, have you thought about how this could be more than just a project? It could be the start of your career." He stopped drawing and looked at me, an expression of hope and doubt mixing on his face. "Sometimes, I wonder if I'm good enough. What if I can't do it? What if I fail?" The sadness in his voice hit me like a punch. I knew that this was the same insecurity Tom faced in his darkest days. I once heard that success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. No one starts out big, Ben. You just need to take the first step. And what if I take that first step and fall? He was vulnerable, and I saw the boy who still needed support. Then you get up and try again. I learned that the hard way. And I'll be by your side no matter what happens. He smiled, a shy smile but full of gratitude. "Thank you, Grandpa. I really appreciate that." The atmosphere felt lighter now, and I sensed we were building something more than just a car. We were rebuilding a broken bond. The afternoon flew by as we discussed ideas and sketched designs. With each line Ben drew, I saw a bit of Tom in there, and it filled me with a mix of joy and nostalgia. Deep down, I wished Tom were here to see what we were creating. "You know, Ben, your dad would love to see this. He always had a knack for innovation." Ben looked at me, and in his eyes was a light I hadn't seen in a long time. "Do you really think so, Grandpa?" "Absolutely. He believed in you, just like I do." The silence that followed was comfortable, as if we had finally found common ground. "Let's work together, Ben. This is just the beginning." He nodded, and the sense of hope in the air was palpable. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel so alone. We were in this together, and that was all I needed. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains in the kitchen, casting a soft pattern on the wooden floor. I sat at the kitchen table with a steaming cup of coffee in front of me, but my mind was elsewhere. Sarah had been clear about her pain, and I still felt the weight of those words. Guilt and regret followed me like a shadow. It was then that the phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Ben. His voice, though hesitant, brought a wave of hope. "Hi, Grandpa. Are you busy?" "No, Ben. I'm just here thinking about some things. What do you need?" He took a deep breath, and I could sense the determination in his voice. I was thinking about the automotive design workshop that Sarah wants to open. You're still going to help her, right?" "Yes. I'm considering how I can do that." "Why do you ask?" "Because I want to do something too. I want to be an automotive engineer. But I don't know if I can." The vulnerability in his voice touched me deeply. It was as if he was opening up in the same way I had opened up in the support group. "Ben, you have a dream, and that's important. What's holding you back?" "It's the money. And also, I don't know if I'm good enough. Tom was always so talented. I feel lost, Grandpa." Hearing Tom's name made my heart ache. "Ben, your dad had incredible talents, but you have your own. The passion you have for cars is something I really admire. You need to believe in yourself." "Do you really think so?" "Absolutely. Remember that electric car project we worked on together? I saw your dedication. You have a special talent, and I want to help you realize it. A pause lingered between us. What if I don't pass the entrance exam? He asked, insecurity evident in his voice. What if you do? What if you become one of the best automotive engineers in the country? Ben, life is full of challenges, but each one is an opportunity for growth. Let's work together on this dream. Would you really do that for me? Of course. You're my grandson, and I want to see you shine. Let's apply to the engineering university in Detroit. I'll help you with everything you need. Thank you, Grandpa. You don't know how much this means to me. He sounded lighter, as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The conversation flowed, and by the end I felt rejuvenated. Helping Ben wasn't just a way to find redemption, it was also a way to connect with Tom's legacy. I needed Ben to know he wasn't alone, just as I wasn't. As we spoke, an idea began to form in my mind. What if we did a project together, a sustainable electric car? You can be the designer, and I can help with the practical aspects. How does that sound? That would be amazing. I'd love that. The excitement in his voice was contagious. Then let's start planning. We can research the best technologies and create a prototype. This could be the start of your career, Ben. I can't wait. Thank you, Grandpa. We hung up, and I found myself smiling. The thought of working alongside Ben brought me a renewed sense of purpose. Just as I had found comfort in the stories of other parents in the support group, I now had a new mission: to help my grandson discover and pursue his own journey. The loneliness that had accompanied me began to fade, and I realized that one struggle was the other's as well. We were in this together. I woke up that morning with a weight on my chest. I felt like the day was waiting for me, but I wasn't sure how to face it. I looked out the window of my apartment and saw the city of Chicago emerging under the soft light of dawn. The sky was clear, but inside me, there was a storm. It was time to visit Sarah, and the thought of seeing her made me nervous. What would I say? How would she receive me? The memories of my relationship with Tom, and everything that had been lost, loomed over me like shadows. When I arrived at Sarah's small apartment, my heart raced. I rang the doorbell, and as I heard her footsteps approaching, a wave of anxiety washed over me. She opened the door, and for a brief moment, we stood staring at each other in silence. Her expression was a mix of pain and confusion. "John," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "what are you doing here?" "Hi, Sarah. I just wanted to talk," I replied, trying to keep my composure, but the tension in the air was palpable. She hesitated but eventually let me in. The space was filled with memories of a past that felt distant yet still so present. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked, as she led me into the living room. Her gaze was firm, but I could see a fragility hidden behind that facade. About Tom, about what happened. "I'm so sorry for not being there for you," I started, feeling a knot form in my throat. "I failed as a father." "You weren't present, John. Tom needed you and you ignored all of it," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. The pain he felt, the rejection. I felt it too. "Do you think it was easy for me?" "I tried to care for him, but I couldn't. You were so caught up in your own world that you didn't see how much we were suffering." Her words cut deep. I knew I had failed, but hearing that from her only reinforced the guilt I already carried. "I regret every moment I could have been by his side and wasn't," I confessed. "I just wanted him to know that I cared." "It's too late for that, John," she said, tears in her eyes. "Tom is no longer here. And you can't just go back and fix things. I don't know if I can forgive you." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. I looked down at the floor, unsure of what to say. Silence settled between us, heavy and uncomfortable. Then, driven by a desire to do something that could help, an idea came to me. What if I could help you realize your dream? I would like to offer financial support for you to open an automotive design workshop, I said, almost not believing what I was proposing. She looked at me in surprise, as if she couldn't comprehend what I had just said. "John, this is unexpected," she replied, incredulity evident in her voice. "Why would you do that?" "Because I want to do something good, something that honors what Tom loved. I know this won't erase the past, but maybe it could help heal a little. I tried to explain. I need to do something that shows I care, that I'm concerned about you and Tom's legacy. Sarah fell silent, weighing my words. Her expression softened a bit, but the distrust was still there. Do you really think this will change anything? That it can redeem you? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't expect it to fix everything, but I want you to know that I'm here, willing to help, I replied, feeling a weakness in my own words. I can't change what happened, but I can try to make a difference now. She took a deep breath, as if pondering each of my words. I'll think about it, she finally said, but I can't promise it will be easy. I don't expect it to be, I assured her. I just want you to know that you're not alone. And in that moment, something shifted between us. The tension was still present, but there was a spark of hope, a possibility of rebuilding. I knew the road would be long and difficult, but I was willing to walk it, not just for Sarah, but for myself and in memory of Tom. Morning light filtered through the windows of the small apartment where I had temporarily settled, the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. Ben was sitting at the table, his hands nervously drumming on the wooden surface. I could feel his energy, a mix of anxiety and hope. So, Grandpa, do you really think I can do this? He asked, his eyes fixed on me, seeking not just an answer but confirmation. Of course you can, Ben. You have what it takes to become an automotive engineer, I replied, trying to convey confidence. Your passion for cars and technology is impressive. You just need an opportunity. He smiled, but doubt still lingered in the air. But what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? The insecurity in his voice was palpable, and I felt a pang of empathy. I had been there before, facing my own fears and uncertainties. Look, I went through that too, I began, recalling my days as a young dreamer. When I was younger, I was also afraid I wouldn't be able to move forward. But what matters is trying. If you don't try, you'll never know what you're capable of. Ben looked at me, and for a moment, I saw a spark of determination in his eyes. Do you really think I could apply to the university in Detroit? Absolutely. Let's do it together. I can help you with the application process, I said, already envisioning the steps we needed to take. You'll need to prepare a solid portfolio and a motivation letter. Let's work on that today. He nodded, a smile beginning to form. That would be amazing, Grandpa. But what about the money? I don't know if I can afford the tuition. Leave that to me, I replied, feeling my heart race. It wasn't just about money. It was about giving him a chance, an opportunity to create his own path. I can help with that. I don't want cost to be an obstacle for you. You would do that for me? He seemed surprised, as if he couldn't believe the offer. Of course. It's a way for me to redeem some of my failures. You deserve this, Ben, and I want you to know that I'm here to support you, I said, trying to convey how much it meant to me as well. The conversation flowed naturally from there, with Ben starting to discuss his ideas for a sustainable electric car project. I listened attentively, admiring the passion he demonstrated. I want it to be something that helps the environment, Grandpa, a car that not only drives well, but is also eco-friendly. That's brilliant, Ben. Think about how you can make a difference. Every little step counts, I encouraged. You could be one of the pioneers of the new generation of automotive engineers. As we talked, the atmosphere in the apartment began to change. The tension that had once existed between us seemed to evaporate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and purpose. You know, I'm really excited about this. I never thought I'd have someone like you to help me, he said, the vulnerability in his voice revealing a side of himself I was still discovering. You're not alone, kid. I'm here, and that means a lot to me too. Let's do this together, I replied, feeling a wave of pride as I watched him so determined. In that moment, I realized our relationship was transforming. We were not just building a project. We were also forging a bond that we might never have had before. The past still weighed heavily on us, but the future seemed brighter than ever. And so, with a newfound sense of purpose, we began to take the first steps toward Ben's dream. I was in a moment of rebirth, both in my life and in Ben's. The connection between us had strengthened in ways I never imagined. The sustainable electric car project was taking shape, and as we worked together, I could see that my relationship with my grandson was evolving. It was as if every piece we fitted into the car was also aligning the pieces of our relationship. Grandpa, have you ever thought about how this could change the market? Ben asked, his eyes shining with excitement as he held one of the new pieces we had designed. He was so engaged, so passionate about it, that I couldn't help but feel immense pride. Yes, I've thought a lot about it, Ben. The world needs innovations like this, and if we can make it affordable, we can make a difference in many people's lives, I responded, trying to convey how much I believed in the idea. He smiled, a genuine smile that lit up his young face. I just hope we can get the necessary funding. If we do, we can do something really big. Let's take it one step at a time, I said, trying to stay calm. First, we need to finish the prototype and do some tests. After that, we can think about presenting the idea to investors. What matters now is that we're building something together. As we talked, I felt the intensity of the bond forming between us. I looked at Ben and saw not just my grandson, but a new generation, full of dreams and potential. Ben, you know you can count on me, right? Not just for this project, but for anything you need, I said, feeling the need to open up to him. I know, Grandpa, and that means a lot to me, he replied, a bit more serious, as if he were contemplating what I had said. Sometimes, I wonder if you can really understand what I'm going through. You lost Tom and I lost my dad. It's hard sometimes. The mention of Tom made my heart ache. The pain of loss was still a constant shadow in my life. I understand more than you can imagine, Ben. I feel lost without Tom, but you need to know that I'm here for you, always. Sometimes, what connects us is the pain, but it can also be the passion for something greater. He nodded, and I saw a new determination in his eyes. Grandpa, let's make this electric car. Let's show everyone that we can make a difference. The excitement in his voice gave me strength. We began to work more intensively on the project. Each week, we made progress. The nights turned into marathons of work and laughter, and in every moment together, I saw Ben transform from a disheartened young man into a true aspiring engineer. One night, as we were in the garage surrounded by tools and parts, Ben turned to me and said, "You know, I never thought I could feel this way. Working with you, it feels like I'm building something more than just a car. It's like I'm learning to be a man, an engineer, and more importantly, a member of our family." That touched me deeply. Ben, life is all about building. Sometimes, we need time to find the right pieces and understand how they fit together. I'm so happy you're with me on this journey, I replied, feeling emotion take over me. That project wasn't just about an electric car, it was about us. It was about healing, about love, and about how, even after so much pain, new hopes can emerge. And as the car's engine began to come to life, I realized that the engine of our relationship was also warming up, ready to roll toward new horizons. I was sitting in a plastic chair in the corner of the hall, watching the group of grieving parents around me. The lights were soft, creating a cozy atmosphere, but there was a tension in the air that I couldn't ignore. Each face I saw reflected pain, loss, and somehow a deep understanding of what I was going through. It was both a relief and a torment. When the facilitator of the group asked everyone to introduce themselves and share a little about their stories, my heart raced. I wasn't sure if I could speak. The memories of Tom were still very fresh, the wound open, and I feared that by opening my mouth, the pain would come rushing back with full force. But as I looked around, I realized I wasn't alone. Here were parents all fighting their own battles, and somehow that encouraged me. "Hello, my name is John," I began, my voice trembling in the silence of the hall. I lost my son Tom a few months ago. He was only 25 years old. A wave of compassion washed over the room, and I could see a few tears forming in the eyes of other participants. That gave me the courage to continue. He was a brilliant young man, full of dreams. He had such a passion for cars when for automotive engineering. He always talked about how he wanted to change the world with a sustainable electric car. I paused, trying to contain the emotion threatening to overflow. The last time I was with him, we were working on a project together. It was a car he dreamed of building. And then, everything was gone. My hands trembled. I looked down at the floor, trying to find words that didn't sound so empty. How can you move on? I thought. But instead, I continued. I feel lost. Life without him is like a car without fuel. An engine turned off. I don't know how to move forward. I finished. my voice faltering. A heavy silence filled the space. Then, a woman with gray hair, who was sitting across from me, leaned forward. "John, I understand your pain. I lost my daughter 2 years ago. She was only 19 and about to start college." Her voice was soft yet full of strength. "What you are feeling is normal. The pain never completely goes away, but you can learn to live with it." "How do you do that?" I asked, desperately wishing for an answer that would give me some kind of hope. "I honor her memory every day. I do little things she loved. And, most importantly, I talk about her. I share her stories, her laughter. It helps me keep her spirit alive." She smiled sadly. "And sometimes I even feel like she's with me, guiding me." I pondered her words. The idea of keeping Tom alive in my heart brought me a bit of comfort. A man to my left, who looked as defeated as I felt, intervened. "What are you doing to cope with the pain, John?" he asked. I hesitated. I'm trying to help my grandson, Ben. He has a dream of becoming an automotive engineer just like my son. Maybe, if I can help him achieve that dream, it will bring me some peace." The woman who had spoken before smiled again, this time with a sparkle in her eyes. "That's wonderful, John. Helping others can be a powerful form of healing." I felt a lightness beginning to fill me. It was as if, by sharing my pain, I was creating space for hope. I looked at Ben, who was sitting in a corner, observing everything with an attentive expression. He seemed intrigued, perhaps even a bit worried. "What do you think, Ben?" I asked impulsively. "Do you think I'm capable of helping?" He looked at me, his eyes filled with understanding. "Of course, Grandpa. You're doing it right now. You're talking about Dad, and that's important." A smile blossomed on my face, and for the first time in a long time, I felt that perhaps there was a path ahead. What moment in this story touched your heart the most or made you reflect on life? We would love to know. Leave your comment below and share your insights with us. Your opinion is essential for us to continue bringing stories like this that touch and inspire. If you know someone who might identify with this journey of redemption and family reconnection, share this video with them. Together, we can spread messages of hope and transformation. Don't forget to like this video and, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to not miss any touching stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next meaningful narrative. Sure, please provide the text you'd like me to translate or adapt, and I'll be happy to assist you. Sure, please provide the text you would like me to translate, and I'll be happy to assist you.